in Vegas. Just looking right in here. Oh, I know you get caught up looking over there. Now that's a good one. Everyone's underselling AJ Green because he's been around forever. 8.5, 8.5. You know what? I'm gonna go under on that one. I think he has a very viable chance of being 6 or 7. He could even be higher if Dalton gets his stuff together.
Trey Burton, 7.5.
That's a tough one. Everyone loves this guy, and I think Trubisky with the tight end makes a lot of sense. So you know what? I'll say under, but that's right. That's valid. Bears, man.
Tariq Cohen, playmaker. That's all you need. I'm going to go over. I'm going to say over 7.5 touchdowns this year. That's all Chicago loves. That's all you got. See, Jordan Howard, he's still going to be solid. People are going to undervalue him. He's going to go mid to late second round. He's going to be a steal. He's going to be a first round running back.
All right, so I'm back from Vegas a couple days later, trying to catch up on sleep, and we actually have to finish the video for you, which is the biggest gambles of 2018. We got 3 guys in particular that where they're going right now. They could be a boom, they could be a bust, they could help you win, they could really hurt you in the long run. But I'm about to call up Craig, and we're about to talk this out.
Now, one of the biggest gambles in fantasy this season has to be Deshaun Watson in my mind, even though everyone's hyping him up, ranking him up in the top 5. I mean, we both rank him in the top 5. But I think something has to be said for the fact that his team was down in a lot of games. He had to try to get into shootouts to even come back close to winning, which he only won 3 games, lost 3 games. It's not like they were doing that great. His final game he did play, he threw 3 picks, even though that's the game everyone points to in that big shootout against Seattle. He held his own against Russell Wilson. Sure he did, but he threw 3 picks as well. So I don't know. He only did this for 6 games, 7 games last year. I think that's a pretty big risk when you're drafting Watson over, Drew Brees. And I guess, yeah, we both rank it like that, but I don't know. There's some that's a very big gamble. It's a very big risk Deshaun Watson is. Could be some reward, but the risk is there.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're drafting for, and that's why I love the fact that this guy is such a gamble. But there's not too many players out there that can give you this much of an advantage over your opponent in a particular position. And to your point, you know what I mean? He might have a regression, a sophomore slump, if you will. He didn't, maybe he doesn't come back from that injury. Those are all real concerns, or the fact that 8 interceptions does balloon up. But 19 touchdowns as a rookie in 7 games, if that balloons up instead, oh my gosh. I mean, he could be the number 1 quarterback and give you a giant edge. And that's why I love the guy so much, but he is scary to take. And right now he's ranked number 5 expert rankings, but I have a feeling his ADP is even higher than that.
Another huge gamble this year has to be, in my mind, Amari Cooper, because despite the fact that, everyone loves the talent, we can see the talent, he's being drafted as the 15th wide receiver off the board when he didn't come close to that last year. What happened, I don't know, but it was a pretty poor season, and everyone just kind of assuming he's going to bounce back to that because he's really not even ranked much lower than he was last year. Last year he was ranked around 10th starting the year, and this year he's 15th after that poor of a season. So by drafting him as, pretty much a high-end wide receiver too, really at this point, if you're in 12-team leagues, you're getting a player who absolutely shown nothing last year. There's no guarantee he's going to do anything this year. You're paying for the potential. I hate paying for potential, and that's what you're doing with Cooper. So that's why he's a huge gamble here. The risk is very high, and I don't know if it's worth it or not.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you. Amari Cooper is such an intriguing player because he does have that high ceiling, that potential. He could end up being a number one wide receiver. He's being touted by Gruden. He's being hyped up. Everything coming out of camp is positive. It's the perfect honeypot, really, in order to get stuck with a guy that could end up being, what was he ranked last year? And he was ranked 31st, and he was really saved by pretty much one big game where he had like 2 to 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, and he just blew up for one week. And then on top of that, I do hear another thing that just came out. I was actually reading that he's actually trying to put on weight. And usually I would think that is a good thing, but at the same time, that tends to also, I know, it tends to take away from your speed as well. And if you just came off of, and it's not like the first 2 years he didn't miss one game. He was 16 games, and last year he did miss 2. So if you're trying to build up, durability, so you stay healthy, I would understand that, but it doesn't really seem like he has too many injury problems. And I mean, is he trying to become more of a possession guy? Is that something Gruden wants him to do? I don't know. A lot more question marks, even though he's very talented. This guy is sitting there, and he, at the position he has to be drafted at, will either be a boom or bust. I don't think there's going to be an in-between for this guy. And it scares me, and why he probably won't end up on too many of my teams, because he's such a gamble. And Deshaun Watson, he's a gamble I would take. Right now, Cooper is a gamble I would not.
Another player who is another gamble, because we're drafting based off potential, which is just a thing I hate to do. I really hate to draft off potential. It's you're paying the highest price possible. You're not getting any kind of value, really. But again, this is a player I love in a way, because I think I see the potential. It's Joe Mixon. He is currently ranked as the 14th running back off the board. That is the top end of running back twos. And yet he's a player who only averaged 3.5 yards per carry last year, only had 4 touchdowns, 600 yards. We are paying for the breakout season. We're not paying the value to get it's not undervalued. We're getting him at a value to have a breakout season. We're paying for the breakout season, which is something that it's a risk to do.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. Drafting running backs is tough because there are only so many before you go to committee backs, before you have true injury risk, before you have all this stuff, age declining. It's a much harder position to draft well at. But another thing you definitely have to look at, I know that Mixon is a very intriguing prospect, but the situation you're in as well. And I don't think that they have improved that O-line to a point where I can feel secure that they're not going to be able to be, or they're not going to be detrimental to him breaking out. And that 3.5, it shouldn't, but it does scare me. I mean, I don't always go by the yards per carry. I know we're kind of hot and cold on that stat, but that one speaks a lot to how last year went for him. And yeah, number 14 running back overall currently. It just, a lot of risk. But once again, I love the way that you always talk about him, as he reminds you of Le'Veon Bell, about how patient of a runner he is. But if you have a bad O-line, all you're doing is waiting to be hit. So